why create two different bills to fund a child's private education and then public
Because
education?
the system isn't serving all kids. We are removing the STAR test.
That's something that you're looking at voting yes or no.
In the Texas House, the STAR will go.
I had to ask.
Besides education, we have laid out a huge water bill.
Hey, folks, welcome here to Mic Check with Micah, where the goals are always to inspire, inform, and entertain. And today we're going to be more on the informing part of this. We do have a Representative Brad Buckley for District 54 for Texas House District 54, which covers parts of Bell County. So thank you so much for coming on, first and foremost.
You bet. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you as well. First off, congrats. I know that you're now the chair again of the Education Committee.
Second
Um,
session leading the committee. Yeah, it's an honor to do it.
all right. And so with this, we have so many questions. So I guess I'm going to start at the beginning. This legislative session started not too long ago, and there's a big vote or decision or little riffraff over who would be the Texas House Speaker.
Yeah. There was a contested speaker's race. Of course, last session, Speaker Dade Phelan led the Texas House, and I was honored that he appointed me to chair the Committee on Public Education, and he served as our speaker for 2 terms. He decided shortly before session, I believe sometime in December, that he was reelected and he would serve in the House but not seek to be the speaker, and so that created a speaker's race. And there was a lot of contention about it, a lot of sort of two sides to it, and I supported our current speaker Dustin Burrows, and was honored to do so. I've known the speaker since I first arrived in the House in 2019, and he's been an incredible leader. From when he chaired Ways and Means to this time chairing calendars, just tremendous leader, a very committed to policy, a very serious person that cares about Texas deeply. And so I was proud to support him, and he made it across the finish line and serves as our speaker today and is doing a great job.
Yeah, and I just ask one more question about it before I move on to other things. With that, I know that the other representatives that I interviewed, Hicklin as well as Curry, voted for the other person. And then there was even, I guess, some threats with this over primary elections with this. I mean, and you still voted for him. I mean, what was the thing that really just made you say, hey, I'm still going to do this despite this happening from your fellow party members?
Well, for me, it's about supporting the individual that I believe can be the best leader for the Texas House. And it's about that. It's about the policy. It's about making sure that I can accomplish the goals that I have on behalf of the constituents of House District 54. And so for me, it was never uncertain who I was going to support. Speaker Burrows is a friend of mine. I know him very well. On the other side, David Cook was running. David Cook's a very nice man. He's a friend of mine as well. But there are times when you have to lead and you have to do what you know what's best in your heart, and that's what I did. And I'm proud to have supported Speaker Burrows and continue to lean on his leadership every single day. And he has been a stalwart supporter of the issues that are important to my district and issues important to Texas.
And speaking of your district, first off, I do want to talk about later on about education savings accounts and public
Sure.
school funding. But first off, I want to touch on the Killeen ISD stabbing, where I mean, unfortunately, a 14-year-old girl was stabbed to death, and now another one is in custody. You did put out a statement, I believe, the day after. First off, I want to get your thoughts on this, and then I'll ask a follow-up on that.
Well, it's a horrific event. It hurts my heart to see that type of violence in our schools. There are lots of reasons for that. I always think that as a parent, most problems begin at home. and we have to have we have to have strong support systems at home for our kids, and it's a precious life lost, and a precious life um, basically changed forever. And so I've been following what Killeen ISD is doing, to make sure that kids are safe at school, and that process is ongoing. And I mean, they've taken it obviously very seriously, and they've heard from the community on it, and so they'll continue to do the things to make sure that they create safe learning environments. We're also working on some legislation to allow our districts to have, let's just say, a better opportunity to create safer environments through discipline policy. And, we actually heard from the leader of KISD, Dr. Fay, at the hearing, who made a incredibly eloquent testimony, peer-filled. What we can do at the state level to assist our districts in creating those environments is what we will do. And so that bill right now is in the process of, we've had a hearing on it, and doing what we call a committee substitute. We take testimony, we hear what's good about the bill, what needs to be tweaked or changed. The author of the bill, Jeff Leach, my good friend from Collin County, is working on that. We'll have it hopefully back up the committee sub to lay out and vote out of the committee here very, very soon. And we think that can be a very important bill to make sure we have safety in our classrooms for teachers and students, and we have the best learning environments we can have.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that when I did interview you, you did mention wanting to author a bill similar to that. Is that correct? Where you wanted to do this even before we heard about this?
Yeah, we've been working on this bill for months with what's called the Chapter 37 Coalition. It's a group of school districts of all different sizes from across the state that have recognized that we need to reform our discipline policies. That we've had too many instances of teachers and students being injured or worse. And so we took a long, hard look at this over time, got the policy together. I leaned on Chairman Leach to carry the bill. There's a lot of legalities involved in this. Chairman Leach is a brilliant attorney. And he's the right person. He's done a great job, getting the details of the bill refined, and will do a great job carrying the bill across the finish line, I believe.
And another follow-up just on the Killeen ISD, just tragic story. I know on the 26th, Dr. Fay held another news conference updating us and the public about what happened. And the question was asked about why doesn't Killeen ISD have uniform security measures at the district? Is that something that lawmakers are looking at? And what situations and things are you all looking at from the situation that you all could possibly change to better help out these schools with
Yeah. Yeah. At the state level, I believe that, there are certain parameters we put in place for safety and security. But at the end of the day, the state looks at this from a 30,000-foot view. We try not to wade into the individual details of what districts have to do, but we try to provide them with a framework and the options, and then allow local control of that. If you look at the, districts across Texas, you'll have districts with 180,000 students down to districts with 8. And literally the number 8 students, there's a district with 8 students in it. And so, the state needs to sort of provide the framework and the policy, and then allow the districts to execute that. And I'm certain Killeen ISD will do what they need to do to make sure that that our schools are safe. And I have all the confidence in the world that they will do that.
All right. Anything else you would like to say on this situation, or just working with Dr. Fay and just other superintendents just in our area about making our schools safer and helping them out?
Yeah, well, districts have all weighed in. I met with some local school superintendents yesterday that were in Austin, some of our locals, and then some from across the state. And we had great discussions on ways to improve our public schools. And we're really working in a team effort to make sure that we have safe schools, that we have well-funded schools, and make sure that we have schools that are committed to what we have to do, and that's improve academic outcomes. And that is my commitment: is we will do everything we can to improve those outcomes.
All right, now let's get to the stuff that probably everyone who's watching this wants to hear about. We've been talking about it for a while. Education savings account funding kids, going to private schools and such. I've been speaking with plenty of superintendents across Central Texas. I mean, Waco, Temple, Killeen, Cove. Something that stood out to me that Copper's Cove ISD said, which I think you're working on a bill. I believe it's House Bill 2. But he
Yeah,
said since
so I think the
2019,
first thing that I'd say
they
about the
haven't
scholarships
had
is
an
that,
increase in funding, per
they're
head for
abide by
these
state law.
schools
And the
in
other
public
thing
schools.
I'd
And he
say is
said,
this:
however,
they're
they're asked
so
to
against
stretch
this
their budget
doctrine.
and do more with less. I know you authored House Bill 2,
That's
which is
correct.
talk about public school funding. Can you talk about what that would do and how much more funding these
Well,
schools would get?
yeah. Well, we have, in 2019, we had historic public school finance reform in the form of, it was House Bill 3 at the time in 2019. And it was a really a wholesale change and reform of how we fund our schools. And so on the heels of that, I've authored House Bill 2, which sort of marries itself to some of the concepts in the current formula. But that bill itself will inject nearly
And
$8 billion
ESAs
additional
should
dollars in
not
our
be a
schools.
priority.
We have
ESAs will
other
take
bills
money
that are
away from
running
public schools, and students like
simultaneously
me will face the
that
repercussions.
that also make significant investments in public schools. And in the end, the Texas House will have a package of bills, of which the lead bill will be House Bill 2. But when you include the others, where we will invest more than $9 billion in new funding for our public schools. It'll be the largest investment made in public schools in the history of the state of Texas, even when you account for inflation. So we're very, very proud of that. It's been a very collaborative process since we laid the bill out, I believe, 3 weeks ago. Um, we have we've taken 2 full days of testimony, both invited and public testimony. Been working with committee members to make changes to the bill. I'll lay the committee sub out next Tuesday to the committee and intend to vote the bill out next Tuesday. We'll get it to the floor, and we will continue to work on this important piece of legislation that we believe will be really transformational for Texas public schools.
And clarification, real quick, by getting to the floor, you mean the full House floor now?
Yes, yes, it has to come out of committee. It'll have to go to calendars and be set on the calendar for the House floor, and I expect to be on the House floor here in the next few weeks.
All right, perfect. And first off, I got multiple questions with this. First off, where is this money coming from to even fund this?
Well, when you look at the state budget, the state budget as introduced had about $5 billion of additional funding um, for our public schools. Um, Sitting down, myself with Speaker Burrows and other leaders, we have decided in the House that we would go, we would push further than that. That we understand the inflationary environment that our schools have been under in the last 4 years. I mean, we've had, since 2020 and 2021, you've seen historic inflationary levels, anywhere from 18 to 22%. So when we recognize that impacts every Texas family, every Texas school, every Texas business, every Texas organization. And so we're in the process of providing those funds. And so that's why we filed bills with those types of spends. And we intend to get the bill off the House floor and pass it, and then work with our colleagues in the Senate to negotiate a strong school finance package that we hope and we believe will be historic. And, we know that there are resources that need to be brought to bear, and our teachers need a raise. We need to increase special education funding. We need to make sure that we have also just provide basic funding for schools to pay the light bill, buy the diesel, purchase the buses, and all that. And this bill contains all of that. And so, we're taking that money from available state revenues. And one thing about budgets and what the final budget and bills look like, it usually comes at the very end. And that's because in our process, You can pass a House bill all day long, but the Senate gets to weigh in as well, and vice versa. So we'll have a strong conference committee at the end, full of folks dedicated to funding our public schools on both sides of the building, and we will, I believe, we'll get this across the finish line.
So you're pretty sure that it's going to pass.
I'm very, very confident.
And then, again, correct me if I'm wrong. I like doing this because it provides more transparency for me and for them just to see how the interview and journalism process works. But I want to say again, correct me if I'm wrong. Last time that school choice was introduced, it was kind of intertwined with public education. So it was separated this time. You separated this time to hopefully get it over the hurdle than rather combining them.
Yeah, there's lots of reasons it was combined last time, and what if you look back on that, the fourth special session in 2023, the original call was school choice only. What I mean by the call, the governor sets the agenda for a special session, and in the House, you can't take up any subject that is not consistent with what the governor puts on the agenda. And so at very late in the third special session, really at a time when we didn't have time to work the process, and then going into the fourth special, the governor included both school choice and public school finance on the call. And then so those two bills were combined as to try to, at the very late hour, get that across the finish line. It was very clear. Everyone knew that those bills went together. But unfortunately, a group of members decided to extract the school choice bill from the other, and even testified at the mic that they knew that by doing that they were killing billions of dollars for public schools, but they chose to do it. Many of those members did not return, and today, where we are today is we have two separate bills. We have House Bill 2, which is our historic funding for public schools, and House Bill 3, which is the school choice bill, and they're not interconnected at all.
And then we'll talk more about House Bill 3 probably next. But I do want to ask, you have people who are really passionate about the school House Bill 3, school choice, but then you have people who are really against it.
Sure.
I think the question is, why create two different bills to fund a child's private education and then public education instead of just already helping out the system that already exists?
Well, because the system isn't serving all kids. You have parents right now that, for lots of reasons, have their children in a private school setting. And the parents that I know are not wealthy parents. They're working class folks that have had to make another option for their children. And, it's time that we give parents every tool in the toolbox. Raising kids has never been more complicated. Susan and I raised three kids, and, the youngest is 24 now. And I look at the world in front of our children today and the things they're exposed to and just our, society in general. And it's never been more complicated. Crazy social media, anxiety, mental health issues, just tremendous challenges. And so, my belief has always been that parents need every option. It is absolutely a fact that the vast majority of parents will choose Texas public schools. I know we did for our kids. And, we lived in one district, but transferred our kids into another district. So we had a level of school choice in that way, and, a public school choice. But there are all kinds of options that meet the needs of parents. And you need to look no further than Oak Creek Academy in Killeen, Texas, where more than 50% of the parents earn less than $80,000 a year, but are struggling to pay private school tuition in a setting that meets the needs of their kids. And it is past time that those parents have the opportunity to receive some assistance in doing that. And will do that through education savings accounts. These parents are foregoing saving for retirement. They're foregoing family vacations. They are foregoing a lot of things while they continue to pay their taxes that fund public schools. They are having to forego other things and make personal sacrifices to keep their children in a setting that fits them best. And that is absolutely appropriate. And it is past time for parents to have that option.
And obviously working in this business, I hear all sides. You hear all sides. I mean, as a lawmaker, I'm sure you get emails and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You and I probably both hear that people are saying this is just going to help the rich. What is your response to that of people saying this is just going to help the people who are already wealthy who can already send their kids to private schools?
Yeah. Well, that's a talking point. That's a point from folks that do not want to empower parents. They believe that the power rests in the system, not the moms and dads and guardians and grandparents. And the power belongs to parents and guardians and folks that know best about what their kids need. And so, we can and we will do both. It's not an either or conversation. I love our public schools. My wife's been employed by a public school for 32 years. My kids all went to public school. But the reality is that we're going to create a pathway for children to receive something different if they need it. And that's going to be parent directed. And on the other side, we're going to invest an historic amount of dollars into our public schools to give them everything that they need. We are removing the STAR test. We're starting over with the assessments and accountability. We're recognizing that the entire assessment and accountability procedures and scheme that we have in our public schools has been the tail wagging the dog. So this is a time for reform. It's a time for all hands on deck and all options. Educating kids is too important. And if your kid, if you have a child and it's not working out for them and they are struggling, a 5-year plan to improve that school is not good enough for that child. That parent deserves the right at that point to find another option. And that's what we intend to do. So, it's going to involve strong public school funding and public school reform to loosen the restrictions and the requirements on our public schools to let them do what they do best, which is educate kids, return to that as opposed to chasing a test, and then also empower parents, those that need it. A very small number of parents, by the way, that we anticipate that will participate in this program, a program limited by the appropriation itself. I wouldn't see more than 70,000 kids in this program. For school choice. A lot of the opposition is pure politics. It is, it's an area where I think those that believe in a system more than parents. And I will always side with parents while supporting, our public schools, because without that empowerment of parents to really drive the education of their kids, Micah, we're losing our best partner. And we just want to, we want to have parents engaged, and we want them to have more control over their kids' education.
And real quick, I want to touch on the STAR test real quick because honestly, I feel like the most passionate superintendent that I interviewed was Coppers Cove ISD's new superintendent. He came from East Texas. He was like, you know what? He just flat out said, I don't like the STAR test. I wish they would get rid of it. He was like, it hurts kids' self-esteem. It doesn't give them really any hope. It is damaging. It needs to be reformed.
Yeah.
Is that something that you've been hearing, and that's included in House Bill 3, right?
No. The House Bill 4
House
is a
Bill
bill
4.
we're working on. We'll have that bill in committee here in a couple of weeks. Met with a group of superintendents yesterday. We're working collaboratively from superintendents from districts that have 500 kids to districts that have 100,000 to look at what meaningful assessment reform looks like. We have state standards in our public schools, what they're called the TEKS. They're what our children need to know. Our curriculum ought to teach those TEKS, and we ought to measure those TEKS through common sense assessments that are short in duration. We need to get away from one test one day that creates all this anxiety. And also, we heard in our meeting yesterday, our districts are spending as many as 18 instructional days simply preparing for the test. So you take a school year of 172 days or whatever they are, 10% of that are days spent learning how to take the STAR test. That is unacceptable. These exams should be another test on another day. And so we're using all that great information from our superintendents and their expertise and other stakeholders and experts to come up with a plan that will take the high anxiety away from our testing, but in the end, give teachers and parents and students and school districts and ultimately policymakers the data that we need to make sure that our kids are receiving a world-class education. And we can do it way better than we're doing it with the STAR. The STAR needs to go. In the Texas House, the STAR will go. We will end the STAR, and we will reform our testing system and our accountability system to make sure that it really reflects and creates a clear picture of the work our schools are doing.
And now I want to switch and talk about town halls. We know that you had all the past ones. One was in Killeen, one was in Salado. That Killeen one, I had messages about I don't want to say getting chaotic, but getting a lot of pushback from it. I want to get your thoughts on that Killeen town hall, and then your thoughts on Salado.
Yeah. I think all in all, the idea we had you have a paid activist in being there that was there to kind of cause trouble in Killeen. That's not surprising. Someone that doesn't even live in Killeen, by the way, who caused the most trouble. But what's disappointing is we're talking about things as important as education, and you have people that don't even want to talk about it. It's simply, change nothing. Don't do anything different. It's pure politics. But the reality is that it is, education reform, or anytime we make significant change, people push back. The town halls were an opportunity to have a conversation, and 90% of the folks, we had a great conversation. But you get some folks here that just play politics 365 days a year. They don't really care about our community. These outside folks that come in from Austin, they're political hacks that simply want to disrupt. While the rest of us who have investments in the community, have children in the community, have had children in the community, we want to have a real honest discussion. So that's what happens on this. This is it's a political act that folks are going through. And, everyone knows my office is always open, and I show up at everything, and I'll have conversations, but, some of the tactics, like I said, it's pure politics. And, it makes me even more certain that we're doing the right thing.
And real quick, I got to ask something that you just mentioned. You said they were outside, they didn't live in Killeen. How do you know that?
Well, because I know who they are and I know where they live.
Okay. I had to ask.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Next question. Are there going to be any future town halls coming up anytime soon, or how can people still work to connect with you and share what they would like to see happen in their community?
Yeah, well, people contact me all the time. A lot of people have my cell phone number. A lot of people call the office. We get back with folks from around the district. Right now we're, I'm in Austin 5 days a week as we get into the, with these big bills coming to the floor. Work a lot on the weekends. We don't have a town hall scheduled in the district at this point, but we will have them, again at some point. But right now, we're in the process of legislating, and there were people from the district in my office yesterday that came down. So and a lot of our groups are having their advocacy days in the Capitol, and they're coming down. But people are always, welcome to reach out, and to have a discussion about it and about any issue. There's, besides education, we have laid out a huge water bill yesterday, a bill to really, to take on, the challenges that we have in Bell County and our water future. And, so we had folks down, to testify on that yesterday. And, we've had other folks come down. There's probably someone from my district in my office every day. And we're always available.
All right, perfect. You mentioned something that I did like that water bill. Where is that headed now? Because I know that was a big thing that's been going on. I spoke with Hickman about that not too long ago.
Yes, House Bill 2626. And that bill was laid out yesterday. It was left pending in the committee. Next Wednesday, it's my intent to tell the chairman of the committee that I have the votes to vote it out of committee and vote it out and send it to calendars and get it on the House floor as soon as possible. Senator Flores has moved the identical bill in the Senate, so we have it coming from both sides. It is that important to Bell County and our surrounding partners. And so we're coming at this issue from both sides, so to speak. And we look forward to getting that bill passed and getting it to the governor's desk.
Okay, I promise two more questions because I know you're busy. You got to go. But I want to ask, school-wide, statewide school cell phone ban. Trying to get it right. I know that people have been talking about that. Is that something that you're looking at voting yes or no?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I'm for that. We've heard a bill already. They're working on a committee substitute to tighten the bill up to make it, the questions. That's why the committee process is important. You learn things, and so the author of the bill is tightening that up. We have districts that have already banned cell phones. Parents have safety concerns about it, and we understand that. There's plenty of carve outs for safety and ways to make sure that we can, that parents can contact their kids. But the reality is that our cell phones are destroying the learning process in schools. Ask any teacher. Kids' heads are down, they're not up. As a matter of fact, they even have a saying now when they go in a school that bans cell phones, they'll walk in and someone will say, "That's a heads up classroom." That means students are looking up at the teacher and they're learning, not looking in their lap, being bombarded by the social media junk that they receive throughout the day. That you can read the book by Jonathan Haidt, The Anxious Generation. It talks about how social media is creating, our inability to pay attention. It creates this constant comparison of yourself to curated images and lives that, it's just not good for kids. And so we're moving towards doing that in Texas. A lot of districts are already doing it, and I congratulate them for having the courage to do it. But it's like anything else. When you make big changes, you get pushback. But the reality is that, we have school districts that are leading. We have legislators that are leading and saying, listen, I'm going to do what's best for kids. And, and that's what you want. You want that kind of leadership. And so, I'm very proud of those members that have gotten behind the cell phone ban bill and that are getting behind all the other education reforms that are saying, you may have groups of people yelling at you instead of having a conversation with you, but you're still going to lead on issues that are good for kids. And so I just want to thank, the members of the House that are firmly behind our great education funding bill, our great education savings account bill, our bill that will reform the STAR test or kill the STAR test, reform accountability, and create a new pathway for assessments in our schools. And our great school discipline bill. And, these are big reforms. These are big things. And I'm looking forward to continue to lead on those issues. And we'll be working at it every day.
All right. I know you got to go. Anything else you'd like to say or we should know?
All right. Well, I just want everyone to reach out to us with an opinion, whether you agree or disagree. I look forward to seeing you back in the district. And, I'm here always to help you with your issues, to hear what's on your heart and mind. But also if you need help with constituent services, our office is doing that, 5 days a week, 7 days a week sometimes. So reach out to us. And Micah, thank you so much for having me today.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on. And thank you all so much for watching Mic Check with Micah on the free KCEN 6 Plus streaming app. Have a good one, y'all.